everyone, it's Renee with Delaney Jane Cards. Welcome back to my channel. This is the second video in my Inspired By series for 2020. This month I was inspired by Christy from Christy Gets Crafty, and this series isn't about casing or copying a card. It is about seeing a card, getting a feel for, sometimes a card has a feeling, or a channel has a feeling, or there's a specific technique or item that the creator uses on their channel over and over. Now, the video that I chose will be linked below, and so will Christy's channel. But this video is an old one. I want to say 2015, 2016. It's old. And I remember seeing it when it came out, and I remember being like, that is a really cool design. But that's not what I'm going to do. I'm not going to take her design and make it my own. What I'm going to do is make a card based on how her card feels. So her card, she stamped the two whales and she did this watercolor technique, and it's really cool. And I do encourage you to go watch it. I know it's an older one, but I encourage you to go watch it. But I have the same stamp set, so I thought this would be a really good opportunity to really show what I want to do with this series. It's not about copying, like I said. It's about taking what that channel has to offer and making something with it. Because as a content creator, the best thing that can happen is somebody gets inspired by something that you create. So I did a bunch of talking here using the Will You Be Mine by Fawn, and some Distress Oxide inks, and a piece of acetate, and some watercolor paper, and I am going to do some ink smooshing. Now, I did stamp and cut all of the images out of Gina K Masking Magic prior to starting the filming here, and you see me put the last piece down in my video. What I'm doing here is adding some Distress Oxides to this strip of acetate that I cut, and I'm going to be spraying it with water and smooshing it on top of my watercolor paper. Now here you can see when I add the water how it beads up and it kind of makes, well, watercolor paint. Then you just take this acetate and you flip it over and you kind of smoosh it around. I could have just, used a paintbrush and did it, but this gives some really neat edges when you do it this way. So I did pick up the acetate, wiped it off, and I dried my panel off screen. And here the color wasn't dark enough and bold enough, and these oxides do layer on top of each other really nicely. So I did this again with a little bit more of that blueprint sketch this time, and I laid it down and I smooshed it again. Now you can see the layers in this. And when she did her card, she used some watercolor. Well, she used Distress inks and kind of made it a watercolor. You can see the different layers there. Not like Distress Oxides. Now, they weren't out when she did her card, and I'm not sure if she even owns them. I think she is still a Distress ink girl, but I'm not really sure. So what I did is I just sopped up a little bit of the puddling with a paper towel, and then I did semi-dry this card panel with my heat tool. And I left this all in because I wanted you to kind of see. And then I took the acetate and I smooshed it back on and kind of touched it onto the area that I wanted, and then wiped it clean because I didn't want a mess again. And then I dried the whole panel again with my heat tool. This creates some different hard edges in my little kind of watercolored background. So that's kind of reminiscent of what she did. Now, Christy's channel, she is very, very well known for pattern paper and Copic coloring. So although I did the little whales and I watercolored, I used air quotes there, watercolored the background, I am going to Copic color right on this watercolor paper. I am totally fine with it. And I used a couple of different color combinations. This one is a little different. It's B60, BV31, B23, and BV23 and BV25, and those were in order of color darkness. And because it's watercolor paper and Copics do blend in the paper, I did saturate the whale first before I started adding the color with the lightest B60 color. I made sure I kept the darkest colors down at the bottom, and I just flicked it on. I only sped this up 2 times. I really wanted you to be able to see this coloring and how it's not very difficult to get contrast. Now, if you watch Christy's channel, you will hear her talk about contrast in almost every single video. Nope, scratch the word almost. In any video, you will hear her talk about contrast. She uses a very good hand and eye in coloring images and always gets beautiful contrast. So I tried to do her justice here and get some super contrast with my whales. I used a different color combination for the second whale. I just thought it would be more interesting if I had a couple of different colors for my whales. And this is also a very different combination, something you might not think goes together, but it really does. So I started with a BG70, and my next darkest color is BG90. The next one is BG93, and the last one is BG72. They don't really sound like they should go together, but this creates this really cool blue-green-gray color, and I thought it was really cool for this whale. And it definitely gets really good contrast when I'm coloring with it. And like I said, this coloring is sped up 2 times, but I mean, I could have left it at regular speed, but I didn't want us to be here all day. So I did go over everything again with that BG70 and then did my blending and then blended it all out again with the BG70 at the end, just so my whale was nice and smooth. For my heart there that I stamped above the 2 little whales, I used a red combination, and it has been my regular red go-to the last, well, it's kind of more of a pink, the last few weeks, and it is R81, R83, R85, and R89. You can see me here. I put the lightest color down first, and then I put the darkest. This is a small little heart, and I did not want these markers to bleed, and I wasn't sure it was really going to bleed, but I didn't want to take the chance because it's red, and at this point I am all done coloring and I didn't want to screw it up. Do you get like that? Are you worried about screwing things up? So here's what it looked like, and I thought it was rather adorable, but I needed to turn it into a card. Now, I also apologize for the black frame. I am working on my camera software, and I don't have the resolution, the frame size, the whatever it is, set proper, and I have fixed it for my next video, so I'm so sorry. But once I had this all watercolor, faux watercolored, and my whale's Copic colored, I thought I should put my sentiment on. I was going to put this little splashy thing there, and then I realized that that's really supposed to come out of the top of the whale from the blowhole, and that wouldn't make any sense. And then I was going to put the little like spray thing on top of the one whale, but I realized it only went one way, and then it wouldn't look good. It didn't work. So then I stamped the Will You Be Mine here with the Versafine Onyx black ink. It is a nice crisp black ink, and if I would have heat embossed, it would have been a great one because it does stay wet long enough to heat emboss with, but I thought it was black enough and it stood out enough. So then I did all of my trimming and my die cutting off screen, and Christy is notorious for die cutting her image panels and then having pattern paper in the background. And she does something kind of different than I do. Usually I have layers. She is more a pattern paper on patterned paper artist. So I did her thing. I think the card in the end turned out absolutely adorable, but I am more of a layers girl. but is what it is. I was inspired by her. And then she often uses colored cardstock for her card bases. I could not do that. But I did use a piece of gray cardstock to mat my card panel. And then I almost screwed it all up. But I did pop this center panel up with some foam tape here because, well, Christy does that all the time. So then I needed to work on my card base, and she always stamps the insides of her card bases with colored ink. So I used Lawn Fundamentals Deep Sea Premium Dye Ink. It is a dark blue. I thought it went well with this design, and I just stamped one little whale, the little like blowhole thing, and a heart. And I'm sure you can hear my cat, but he says hi. So I reinforced the crease on my card base, and then I did add this finished card panel to the front using my ATG. Now she would have used her Tombow Mono multi glue, but I used what I used. So this is what it looks like, and if you've watched any of her videos, especially her Christmas videos, you will see that she uses Stickles, Stardust Stickles on everything. So I thought I would add just a little bit to the heart. So that is my finished card. I really hope that I did her card justice and her channel. Like I said, everything will be linked below for her. If you know somebody that I should watch to be inspired by, please leave that below in the comments. I would love it if you would like and subscribe, and I absolutely love the comments. So if there's anything that you like or don't like or want to ask, please, please, please leave me a comment below. I would be happy to chat with you. And as I always say here at Delaney Jane Cards, give cards generously.